Early morning here, so I just wanted to show you some stuff with tomatoes that I found incredibly useful. First of all, the thing I'm going to talk to you about today, it doesn't really apply to indeterminate tomatoes. That is those kind of ones like bush tomatoes, tumbling ones, you know, patio planters. These tomatoes are kind of genetically programmed to get a certain height or get a certain habit, and then they start flowering, right? So the technique that I'm showing you today is really only for the type of tomato that we're actually going to kind of grow up a cane. So don't do this on your tomatoes, your bush and trailing tomatoes, because it won't really have that much of an effect. But with these type of tomatoes, essentially what I'm looking to do is grow it up a cane, right? And the first thing that I'll draw your attention to is this wee fella right here, right? Which is the side shoot, right? And you can see we have the main branch here coming off the main stem kind of straight. And then at 45 degrees, we've got this little side shoot. And you can see that there's one in almost every bit of this plant. Now, if we leave those there, those will actually make new tomato flowers, and that can be good on certain types of plants, but not for this one, right? And the normal technique with these is to pinch all of these out, right? So what you have to do is take all of these side shoots out, and I just do it with my fingers because they're small. If they're fairly thick, then what you need to do is get a pair of cutting shears, but I just essentially bend them and snap them off. So I've now taken off all the ones that are there on that plant, so it's completely bare, right? So that's technique number one. That gets you a good plant, and that will grow really strongly, and you'll get a good yield off that. But the difference here is what we're going to do is at the tip up here. Now this tip will eventually grow another wee side shoot like we had on these other branches, but what we'll do when that side shoot actually shows itself is we'll cut off this top, right, and leave the side shoot to actually become the new leader for the entire stem. And that's because these little side suckers, and you can see them here again, just nestling in there, these little suckers grow way faster than the parent plant, right? So by promoting the tip of this plant to be one of these fast growing shoots, you make the whole plant very fast growing and high fruiting. And with this I get 40% more height to the plant over the growing season, and 60% more fruit by weight. And I know this because I A/B tested it with 20 plants 2 years ago, so I've been doing it now. The third technique is if I show you this plant, these ones are getting almost kind of big enough. What I do is I leave some of these shoots on till they get quite big, you know, a couple inches, maybe twice as long as it is right now. So it's almost like a little plant in itself. And then what I do is I'll cut that off with a pair of tiny shears, and then I'll dip it in hormone rooting powder and then put it in a root riot block. You know, there are various ways of propagating it. That's the way I do it. It works really well. And I'm going to stick these in those blocks, and they will then make new tiny tomato plants. But here's the wonderful thing, that tiny little shoot is the same biological age as this entire plant, right? So with tomatoes, you're always kind of hoping, will I get some flowers at least low down and all the way up the stem? Now with these little guys, when you grow a new plant from these, because they're the same age as this, they're actually closer to flowering, so they will flower lower, much lower down the stem than this whole parent plant will. So not only can you get free tomatoes from your existing tomato plant, they will grow faster than the original plant, they will fruit lower and heavier, right? So either train your plant to get more yield out of it, or clone the plant to get faster growing tomatoes. And see, when you clone one of these, you can't then practice this you can't then practice the technique of promoting the new leader. You've already got a kind of faster stock that you're running on, so you won't get any advantage of that. I wrote all of this up and posted it on Can You Dig It, but I thought a wee video would kind of help. Last but not least is a technique that's mentioned by Bob Flowerdew. And what you do here is with these is you leave a strong one of these here. So we take off the other side ones on this plant, and we will leave only one of these side shoots to then grow. And what that will do is it gives us a double plant, right? It gives us 2 stems growing. So what we end up with is you end up with a plant that has 2 big branches like that, right? And that actually gets you a higher yield than 1 stem of tomatoes like that. Don't do 3, right, like that, because that doesn't actually get you any more yield. 2 is the best. I'm not doing that with my tomatoes because they're pretty close together this year. But this is something you can do if you've got limited tomato plants. Grow 2 main stems, right? One of them, this kind of side shoot here, becomes a secondary main stem, and then make sure that you pinch out all the other side shoots that appear, right? So that pretty much covers all the training techniques. I'll try and do a video of when I actually pinch out one of these leaders so you can kind of see that in action. But I hope this was helpful. Let me know. Thanks, bye.